Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. In this podcast, your host, Lori Amin, will interview published authors to chat about their work, journey to getting published, and their book recommendations. If you share a passion for books and always looking for your next read, then join us. Hi, Samantha. Welcome to What to Read Next podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So happy to have you here. So tell us who you are. What do you do?
Oh my goodness. I am a contemporary romance author, and I'm sort of like one of those authors that people don't know what to do with because I write romance that's hotter than sweet, sweeter than hot. So nobody knows where to put me. I've been doing this for 10 years, and this is like the greatest job in the world.
Oh my gosh, I love this. So what came first? Did writing or the reading came first for romance?
Reading romance, definitely. I think I started reading romance in like the 7th grade. I had a lab partner in science, and like she used to read Harlequins instead of doing our lab work. And, and I would always be like, put the book down. And she's like, you have got to read this. And she is the reason I got hooked on reading romance. And I haven't stopped since.
Oh my God. So what kind of romance do you read? Do you read historical, contemporary, paranormal, Harlequins? You go back to your roots?
Oh my goodness. Like in the very beginning, I was hooked on like your standard Harlequin romance, and then I sort of got into historical, and then I got into straight up like contemporary romance. Like that was my jam. I liked reading it. I liked writing it. But lately, I am like a weirdo who is just all over the place. I've gotten addicted to Ruby Dixon's sci-fi romance. You know what I'm saying? And because of Bridgerton, I got hooked back into historical romance. I am literally all over the place right now. I'm reading everything pretty much.
I love it. Yeah, I know. It's kind of like funny enough, like how things go. Like I realized earlier this year, I haven't read that many historicals, and I was like, oh, what's going on? And then so I went trying to get like all the famous ones, and they were like backorder, not available. So I went on Duped. I was like, okay, I'm gonna find Bridgerton lookalikes that are available in the library. And it's really like fun searching like all these hidden gems. And I'm like, oh, this one. And I'm like, and then Ruby Dixon with her alien romance, like I spent a bit Barbarian. It's just like fabulous.
I want you to know I had done a signing up at Nora Roberts' place in Boonesboro, and I stayed at the bed and breakfast. And the innkeeper, while we were having they have like wine and cheese every night at like 5, and the innkeeper was talking about these alien sci-fi books, and I was like, come on, that's not a thing. And she's like, I am telling you, she goes, once you start reading them, you're not going to be able to stop. And I was like, you're crazy. And sure enough, I have read all of them. Like if Ruby Dixon wrote it, I have read it.
I love this. There are podcasts for her stuff. They're like, there's all these deep dive content for, yes. If you do, I think there's a couple podcasts for Iceman Barbarians actually. So if you're looking for some additional content to tide you over until the next Ruby Dixon book, just go on iTunes. You might find some podcasts.
Were you reading the serials that she writes, that she posts on Facebook, the Corsairs?
Yeah. I need to. I
just finished one, and today I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. Like there's not a chapter for me to read today. Like I don't know what to do.
I love this. I love this. It's like we're consumers just as well as we're writers, like putting content. You're also consumers, and you're just like, we just need this escape. And
exactly.
in times like this.
Exactly. And I am still that author that goes to signings, I'll be a signing author, and I am still like giddy about like, who am I going to meet? Who are some of my idols who are going to be? So I'm still a fan.
That's amazing. And you did a signing at the Nora Roberts bookstore.
Yes.
That's a dream come true.
It is. And like a doofus, the first time I went there, they brought me into the back room to sign some books that people had ordered to be shipped, who couldn't make it to the signing. And Nora was standing like right there with her assistant, and it didn't even click that it was her. And I just sort of walked in and started doing my thing. And I'm like, dummy, like the queen is in the room. Didn't do anything.
Oh my God.
It's amazing I got invited back.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. That sounds like a dream come true. Like just being in Nora's like orbit, and don't mess up with Nora on the internet. Like it's
Oh,
just
do
like
not mess with her. She is amazing, and she will just.
she will be like, yeah, I don't know. Deborah was the one who's just messed up with her lately about the whole paranormal books. She wanted a whole series to be released at the same time, and Nora was like, no, it does not work that way. So
She does not pull any punches. Like she says exactly what she means and what she wants. And
yeah.
I wish that we were all like that.
I wish it too. But she's in her lane. She's like, I'm producing books left and right and world consuming them. So
yeah, nobody tell Nora what to do because clearly she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, she does. So speaking of like writing and the pandemic, has it been any easier, any harder? What's been the process like for you?
I had a really weird experience with the pandemic because at the end of last January, I had shoulder surgery. Mm-hmm. Okay, so like literally like January 28th, 2020, I had shoulder surgery.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was really ahead. Like I had 4 books ready to go so that I had no idea how long the recovery was going to take. So I didn't want to have to be rushed. But at 6 weeks, I was finally getting out of my sling and I was going to be allowed to drive and do everything. That's the day that the world shut down. And I was like, okay, so I finally have my freedom, but I don't have my freedom. So I'm stuck here in the house a little bit more. And I didn't have to write at first because I was so ahead. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I've got time before I have to start doing anything. But then when it was time to start writing, like I had zero focus. And so I don't know how much of it was part of my recovery. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it just takes you a while to just get out of the fog after mm-hmm. being on medication for pain and all that stuff. But it took me a long time to start mm-hmm. writing again. And like in my mind, I was like, I know what I want to write. I just had no attention span to do it. Mm. I would just I would just sit and scroll through social media for hours and or playing solitaire or just doing crazy stuff. And it took me until about, I don't know, maybe June or July before I finally buckled down and started writing again. Mm. But it was much slower going than I think it had ever been for me. And now I finally feel like I've got my groove back. But long time. It's a long time to sort of feel like a little disconnected from everything, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's like, I don't know, it's like a hit or miss. Like some stuff I was uber productive, but there was like so much anxiety and so much like tension and like you just want to, and you go to social media and it was like an escape, but at the same time it gives you anxiety because it's such triggering and there's like so much and consuming and not enough like things that were actually like worthwhile or,
Right. And like I found that our lives in like me, my husband and my son, our lives didn't change all that much because I do work from home. So I don't go out a whole lot because I'm here writing. My husband and son, my husband's in construction. My son works for UPS. So they were both considered essential. So they were still going to work every day. So as a whole, life didn't change drastically in that aspect of it. Everybody was still going about their own thing. It was a mental thing. It was just a mental thing, just getting my head clear enough to write, There's still like, we're probably one of the few households that we know of where everybody still sort of went and did, neither one of them was ever told like, stay home. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
it was wild.
It is wild. And so you got your groove back. So what does your writing day looks like for you?
I'm a weirdo when it comes to my writing schedule because I don't really have a schedule. I write when the words are there. Mm-hmm. I'm not an early riser. We don't have any young kids in the house. So like, I don't have to be up early in the morning. My husband leaves for work at 6 a.m. I sleep in. I come down here and I'm in my office at like 10 and I check my emails and I do whatever I'm going to do online. And if the words are there, I write. But I find primarily my most creative time is after dinner. Like those 2 hours after dinner is really when like I could sit down and I focus and I and I could get the words on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to authors who are like, I sit down and I don't allow myself to get up unless I've written 2,500 words. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, you got to find what works for you. Like every person is different. Like I'm surprised. Like sometimes I'm like, I get stuff done really early for certain projects, but for the most part, I'm like, it depends on the productivity and it depends on when the flow comes in, So.
Exactly. And only other writers understand that. Like,
Yeah.
like sometimes the words just aren't there. The characters aren't cooperating. And you could sit here all you want with your fingers poised above the keyboard. If you're going to put anything down, it's probably not going to be what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have to go back and rewrite it or delete it or something like that.
And I think that's why it's important to have other things to do. Like whether you're showering, you get rid of showering or go for a walk or like have watch mindless TV or read something else and like something else that you can actually problem solve the character issue or the plot holes,
Yep. For me, that listening to music does that for me. Like if I find I'm stuck in a scene, I just put on some music and it's legit. I don't know why it is. It'll be a lyric in a song, you know what I mean? Like the chorus in a song or just a little quote or something. And I'll be like that's it. Like that was what I needed. So most of my work has a song that was like the anthem that got me through, but it works. For some people it is. It's going out and exercising. It's going out for a walk. It's, finding something else to do. Music is what works for me. And the beach.
Yes.
I wrote 30,000 words at the beach last week.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. That's like a good chunk of a book.
Exactly. So from like Sunday to Friday, I wrote 30,000 words. I've been home since Saturday afternoon. I've written like 500 words.
Oh my God. Sometimes the beach, I think for me, the beach is a place where I get to read a book a day. Like, it's like I get immersed with it and I love it. And so for you, it can just be writing. Like you just got in the flow, got the muse, got the creativity and like
listening to the waves. It was just, that is my muse. That is my muse.
I love this. So let's chat about your latest series because it's all about weddings. And we were talking before we got recording how much I love reading about weddings, but I hate weddings per se. But I love reading about them because I feel like authors put the antics like a few notches up and makes things happen. Like the craziest stuff happens.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So talk to us about the series. Like, what is the elevator pitch and what should we expect from it?
Okay, so Meet Me at the Altar is three best friends who started their own wedding planning business, which is called Meet Me at the Altar. So two of them handle like most of the business of it. The third friend is like their baker. She handles all the cakes and everything for all the events. And so each of them, they're each going to find their happily ever after. So their own trip down the aisle is all very kind of crazy. Each one of them has a crazy trip to the altar, I guess is the best way to say it. So the first book, The Engagement Embargo, we deal with it is the groom who has proposed 4 times, and he's at this fourth one, he is literally left at the altar. And one of the partners, she's been in love with him her whole life. And his family puts him on this engagement embargo, like he's not allowed to ask anybody to marry him or date anybody for a year because, clearly he falls in love too easily. So everybody's like, you need to take a break from this. And she sort of gets tasked with keeping an eye on him because they're friends. And so it's a friends to lovers, and it's her best friend's older brother. So you got all that tied in right there. So book 2 with this cake is the baker's story. Mm-hmm. And wait till you see the pictures that Emily took for that. She was baking a cake to go with the book cover. So those will be up on Instagram hopefully this week. But the second book is our baker, Leanna, and she is handling her cousin's wedding, and her cousin is like the ultimate bridezilla. And she has like a 4-day long engagement party. And that's where she ends up meeting her future groom, and he is the groom's brother. And yeah, so he's sort of like totally against this 4-day engagement extravaganza. and she's the baker. She sort of thinks it's ridiculous too. And they sort of like pair up to just sort of commiserate with each other after he knocks over 100 of her cupcakes. So
again, the antics, you just take another level.
Exactly. Now, the third book, You May Kiss the Groomsman, is what I'm working on right now. And that story is based on that. This is the third partner, Josie, and she has sort of been like super independent all this time. Like, she don't need to be in a relationship. She don't need anybody. But after seeing her friends starting to find their happily ever after, she's sort of feeling like, where's my happily ever after? And she's getting desperate, and she agrees to a marriage convenience with a friend to help him get a promotion. But here's the twist. His brother is a former Navy SEAL who comes home, and she ends up falling like instantly in love with his brother, but can't do anything about it because she's agreed to marry the friend. So we're working through that right now.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait for the third book. Like, you had me at this marriage convenience, and then like which one is the wrong hero? She likes the other hero. Like,
so they're just fun. I love writing about strong female friendships and, you know, like all the craziness that goes with it, because think about how you are with your best friends. Like, you both want to tell them every crazy thing that happens in your life, but then you're also sort of like, I don't know if I want to admit that this is what I'm doing with my life. So finding the balance with them has been a lot of fun.
oh, I love this. I love that you wrote friendships and they're working together, but the friendship is like, that's a solid part of it. Like, it's something nice to see, because it's like so much about the romance. Yeah, it's a romance about the hero and the heroine, but there's also like the friendship, like the life outside of the romance, you know? Like, how does this form? How do you actually the whole person to come into a relationship? Yeah.
It's very funny. I had one book that I wrote a couple of years ago that was part of my Band on the Run series. And I didn't realize that I had done it until after it was released, and my mom read it, and she goes, this is like the first book that it is just primarily the hero and heroine. She goes, you don't have hardly any secondary characters like involved. She goes, it is primarily that. And I went, oh my gosh, you're right. And that wasn't like on purpose. That was just the way the story unfolded. But I like seeing the friendships. I like seeing that interaction. I like them having somebody to go back to and bounce the crazy things that are happening, you know, to be able to go and talk about it. And a lot of it is based on like what you saw on like Sex and the City. You know what I mean? Like those friendships, you know, like that sort of thing. I just think is fun. It's fun to write.
I love it. I think friendships make it like a big deal. Like, at least for me, friendships are like such a huge part of my life. Like, my relationships are like really solid, and I've curated them. Like, you know, like you have like good friends, like not toxic friends, not like all the stuff, like, you know, going through the motions of like, you know, having friends who have your back. You can just go and like basically leave a voicemail and be like, hey, this is what's happening, and like commiserate about like guys and like, you know. So yes, I love it. And it's fun for an author, because then you can create spin-off books. You know? Exactly. Everyone gets a happily ever after. You're like, you get a happily after. You get a happily after.
Readers are funny because they really like, if you even have somebody who has like 2 lines in the book, readers will be like, hey, is that character going to get a book? And it's like, I don't think so, but you never know.
Yes, I tend to love series, especially like long series or spin out from a series that spin out for another series, because I'm like, I just want to get everyone get a happily ever after.
Yes, I agree.
So, I love this. What is your favorite trope to read and favorite trope to write?
Oh, you know what? I kind of love reading about like the friends to lovers. I really do. I like that transition. I like the whole moment where you're like, wait a minute. I think that I have some feelings there, you know? I do not like anything I don't like a love triangle. I like that sort of thing. I can't do. Second chance romances, I have a hard time with as well, because I sometimes feel like, you know what? If there was a reason why you broke up in the past, like,
I'm agreeing with you. I have strong feelings with second chance romance. It needs to be justified really, and lots of groveling sometimes. Like, you need to justify the reason why, but like, there's a reason why you broke up. I don't know.
Exactly. And favorite kind to write, I love writing like an enemies to lovers, like where they are just so like at each other, like because they can't agree on anything and just they make each other crazy. Like I just love creating that. Like that I love to write.
Oh my God. Yay. I love this. You mentioned a couple books a year, like right now, like readings to like Bridgerton's and Excellent Barbarian or Ruby Dixon, the whole pack list. But is there any other book that you recommend that you can't stop gushing about? You're like, oh my gosh, you need to pick it up.
I have been, I just finished reading Sarah MacLean. I read a trilogy of hers, which was Love by Numbers. That I just absolutely adored. Like I devoured them. They were like 3 books in 3 days. You know, I couldn't stop. And I loved the lightness to it. I don't know, she had a very good balance. Like there was great dialogue, there was witty banter, there was enough humor that you didn't feel like, you know, that the book was too flat. It just, everything about it, that series, I just adored.
I love this. I love a good Sarah MacLean book, you know. And that's a backlist title that you probably can find in your library.
Yes.
I love this. So tell us where you can find you online.
You can find me almost everywhere online. I'm on Facebook under Samantha Chase Fan Club is my author page. You could find me on Instagram under Samantha Chase Romance. My website is chasingromance.com. And I'm pretty much very easy to like get in contact with on any of the social media sites.
I love that. Thank you, Samantha, for being on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. For book recommendations, author interview archives, and other fun book resources and tips, please visit WhatchReNextBlog.com. The Watch Read Next podcast is part of the Frolic Network. To discover new shows to listen and love, please visit frolic.media/podcast. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.